My name is Eva, and for a long time I thought I was living a dream. At 40, I was a published author, settled in a brownstone apartment in Manhattan with my husband, Mark, a financial consultant whose voice alone could melt my stress in an instant. He had this unique way of saying my name, slow and tender, almost like it carried a vow. Every morning started with a kiss on the forehead, and coffee made exactly how I liked it. Every night ended with him whispering that I was his world. I believed him, until one night changed everything. It was nearly midnight when I woke to an empty bed. At first, I thought Mark had gone downstairs for a snack or to check on something. I rolled over, half ready to fall back asleep. Then I heard it, his voice. It carried from his home office, low, firm, deliberate. "She still doesn't suspect a thing," he said. I froze in place. My lungs felt tight, and the air grew heavy while my heart slammed against my ribs. I sat up, straining to hear. "Everything's on track. Almost finished," he continued. I crept into the hallway, pressing against the wall near his office door. A sliver of light leaked through the crack. I couldn't hear the rest clearly, but I didn't need to. I had already heard enough. Silently, I slipped back into bed, lying still and pretending to sleep when Mark returned minutes later. He slid in with the same practiced calm, pulling the blanket over us like nothing had broken. That night, I didn't close my eyes. I stared at the ceiling, thoughts racing and fear growing. I didn't know exactly what he was planning, but I knew one thing with certainty. Mark was hiding something, and it had everything to do with me. The next morning, I drifted through the kitchen like a shadow. Mark was still asleep upstairs, his breathing deep and steady. I stood in front of the coffee maker, hands trembling as I reached for my phone. Until that moment, I had never once checked our finances. Mark always took care of everything. The bills, the savings, the investments. I trusted him. I thought that's what a devoted wife did. But I was beginning to learn something harsh. Blind trust could be the fastest way to lose everything. I opened the banking app and my breath caught in my throat. Transaction after transaction flashed across the screen. $500 here, $1,000 there, $750, $2,000. Dozens of withdrawals over the last 3 months. Not massive amounts individually, but together, they created a picture I didn't want to see. I gripped the edge of the counter, trying to steady myself. Then came his voice behind me. "Checking the account this early?" Mark's tone was casual, but I noticed the flicker of surprise in his eyes as he leaned against the doorway, rubbing his neck. "Just curious," I replied, forcing my voice to sound light. "Some of these charges look unfamiliar." He walked over, poured himself coffee, and gave me a polished smile. "Oh, those? Just a few small investments. Must have slipped my mind to tell you." He took a sip, avoiding my eyes. Something cold snapped inside me. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was something sharper, more dangerous. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept his answer. But now I was watching him differently, not with love, not with trust, but with clear eyes. Every shrug, every deflection chipped away at the man I thought I knew. That night, I noticed more. He was glued to his phone, always turning it face down, always leaving the room to answer calls. And when I asked what he was busy with, he'd smile and say, "Just business. Nothing you need to worry about." But I was worried, deeply, and that fear was already shifting into determination. I wasn't going to sit back and wait to discover what he was plotting. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. 2 nights later, the opportunity came. The evening was quiet. Mark had just finished dinner and mentioned he was going to take a shower. Normally, his phone was like an extension of his hand. He carried it everywhere. But that night, for the first time, he left it sitting on the dining table. I stared at it, my pulse pounding like a warning drum. I waited 30 seconds, then another 30. The sound of water running upstairs told me I had a narrow window. My hand reached for the phone, unlocked. My fingers shook as I scrolled through recent messages. Most were harmless, work reminders, casual notes. But then one thread stopped me cold. No contact name, just a number. The last message read, "Send her the Ilium files." Just make sure she doesn't find out. Almost there. I froze, reading it again and again. The words blurred. Send her the Ilium files. Make sure she doesn't find out. Who was her? Was it me? Was Mark handing someone files about me? My stomach twisted. Carefully, I placed the phone back exactly as he'd left it. Every detail perfect. I walked to the kitchen sink, splashed cold water on my face, and tried to calm my racing breath. The shower was still running. I had a few more minutes, but my mind was already spiraling. Mark wasn't just lying. He wasn't just hiding. He was executing something, and I was at the center of it. Later, when he returned to bed, he kissed my forehead as though nothing had changed. "You okay?" he whispered, voice soft. I nodded faintly, forcing a smile. "Just tired. Inside, though, I was screaming." He had no clue I'd seen that message. He still believed I was blind. That was his mistake. And I was going to use it. The next morning, once Mark left for work, I called Anna. Anna Prescott wasn't just my best friend from college. She was also a sharp estate attorney. We had reconnected last summer over coffee, never imagining I'd need her this way. When she answered, I wasted no time. My voice trembled as I explained everything. The late-night whispers, the hidden transactions, the message about the Ilium files. She listened quietly. When I finished, she asked just one question. "How much money are we talking?" "Close to 500 million, I whispered. The silence on the line was heavy. Then Anna's voice returned, firm, unshakable. "Eva, we need to move your assets now." My knees weakened and I sank onto the couch. "Are you certain?" I whispered into the phone. "Yes," Anna replied firmly. "If you hesitate, he'll strike first. We'll establish a trust in your name. It'll be legally shielded. He won't get near a dime." I swallowed hard. The apartment, the savings, the royalties from my books, the investments, everything I had worked for, all of it was suddenly at risk. "I'm in," I said. The next 72 hours blurred together in a storm of paperwork, signatures, and urgent phone calls. Anna was relentless. She brought in her team and we moved fast. The apartment title was placed in the trust. The investment accounts were locked down. Every asset was shifted under airtight legal protection. By the time Mark walked through the door on the third evening, carrying takeout and flashing his usual charming grin, my fortress was already built. "Thought we'd do Thai tonight," he said cheerfully, setting the bag down. I smiled faintly and took it from him. He had no idea. The papers were signed, the accounts secured. Whatever game he was playing, he would never touch my assets again, and I wasn't going to warn him, let him believe I was still in the dark. Let him make the next move, because now I was prepared. 4 days later, Mark acted. It was a Friday evening when he came home earlier than usual, dressed sharply in one of his tailored suits. He looked calm, almost smug, as he set his briefcase on the table and sat across from me. "We need to talk," he said, sliding a folder toward me. I opened it slowly, my face unreadable. "Divorce papers. I think this is for the best," he continued smoothly. "We've grown apart. I don't want things to get uglier." I looked up, steady, unflinching. "Really?" He faltered just slightly, then nodded. "Yes, it's better this way." I drew in a breath and pushed the folder back toward him. "Before we go any further, there's something you should know." His brows tightened. "What?" I leaned forward, my voice calm, deliberate. "I've already moved everything." Confusion flashed in his eyes. "What do you mean?" "The apartment, the accounts, the royalties. All of it," I said. "It's in a protected trust. You can't touch it." The color drained from his face. His jaw tightened. "You can't do that." "I already did." He stared at me, searching for weakness. I gave him none. "You were right about one thing," I said quietly. "Life is unpredictable." Mark pushed his chair back, standing slowly. His voice was cold, sharp. "We'll see each other in court." I rose too, my tone steady. "Then, go ahead. Try." When he walked out, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding for weeks. For the first time, he understood. I was no longer the woman he could control. I thought the storm had passed. I was wrong. 3 days after Mark stormed out, I noticed the shift at work. Whispers, avoided eye contact. Colleagues who normally greeted me warmly now kept their distance. It wasn't paranoia. It was too deliberate. Then my assistant Rachel walked into my office, pale-faced, holding a printed page. "I think you need to see this." It was a screenshot from an anonymous forum. The headline read, "CFO hides funds during divorce using company money." Below was a paragraph accusing an unnamed executive of embezzling assets, implying criminal activity. And in the comments, someone spelled it out. I know who it is. Eva Whitman. Look into her. My blood ran cold. Mark. It had his fingerprints all over it. "He's trying to ruin me," I whispered. Rachel nodded grimly. "If this spreads, it could wreck your reputation." Or worse, I stood pacing, heart pounding. I had spent years building my career, my credibility, with no shortcuts, no favors. And now one false rumor threatened to destroy everything. "I need to call Anna," I said, grabbing my phone. That evening, I sat across from Anna in her office, recounting everything, my voice trembling with rage and fear. "This isn't just personal anymore. He's trying to destroy me professionally." Anna leaned back, her hands steepled. "He's playing dirty, Eva. He's trying to scare you into a settlement." I met her eyes, fierce. "I'm not backing down." She nodded, already drafting a letter. "First, we'll send a cease and desist. If he pushes further, we'll sue for defamation and reputational harm." For the first time in days, hope sparked inside me. He wanted to bury me with lies, but he underestimated one thing. I wasn't afraid of the truth. But Mark went lower still. 3 days later, Anna called me into her office, her voice clipped. "He just filed a lawsuit. He's accusing you of financial fraud." My stomach dropped. "What?" "He claims you illegally moved marital assets. He's alleging embezzlement." I sank into the chair. "He can't be serious." "He is," Anna said, sliding a file across the desk. "And he's not acting alone." I opened it. A name jumped out like a punch. Ilamero. "The name from the text message. Who is he?" I asked. "A known fraudster," Anna explained. "He's been tied to forged documents before. Never convicted, but always suspected." I flipped through the paperwork. Fake transactions. Forged signatures. Even documents mimicking mine. "These aren't mine," I said, voice rising. Anna nodded. "We know, but now we prove it." That week, we worked without rest, gathering real records, tracing digital trails, having a forensic expert examine every signature. Slowly, the truth unraveled. The fakes pointed back to Ilamero's firm. Dates didn't line up. Signatures were flawed. No trace connected me to any of it. Mark had thrown his worst at me. But the truth was stronger. A month later, we walked into court. I sat beside Anna, shoulders straight, dressed in navy. Across the room, Mark looked like a ghost of the man I once knew. Angry, twitchy, unprepared. The judge reviewed every detail. Our evidence was airtight. Ilamero never even appeared. The ruling was clear. Mark's claims were dismissed. He was denied any access to my trust. Worse for him, he was ordered to cover my legal costs. Afterward, he tried to corner me in the hallway. "You didn't have to do this," he said quietly. I met his eyes. "No, Mark, you didn't have to do this." Then I walked away for good. The weeks that followed were quiet. I returned to writing. I strolled through Central Park. I let peace replace chaos. I didn't celebrate, I reflected, because victory doesn't always come with joy. Sometimes it's just the silence after the storm. Sometimes it's the absence of fear. Through it all, I learned something every woman should know. Trust is a gift, but control over your life is a right. Never hand over your power blindly, no matter how convincing love seems. Protect your worth. Safeguard your future. And if betrayal ever tries to break you, stand tall. Because sometimes strength isn't just surviving the storm. It's learning how to claim the sky after it clears. And if you're still listening, thank you. If my story resonates, share it, like it, comment. Let others know they're not alone. Because truth in the end speaks louder than revenge.